to the Athletes in Motion podcast, From Race to Recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
We're going here. Hey, Kenny. Kenny's not here this time, so we're trying this a little bit. Kenny had a little bit of a hiccup today. Couldn't make us, but we've got Shannon Burke here on the podcast. And I'm going to give this attempt to do this solo. Where usually Kenny's here. He's doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic because we really enjoy these conversations and we have a really good time doing this. So we have Shannon Burke on TennesseeGravel.com. We're going to talk to Shannon about all this great gravel stuff. And this was great for Kenny because Kenny has a brand new gravel bike. It's just getting into the gravel scene. So he's going to have to listen very intently as we do this. So first little business, everybody, appreciate all the comments and questions that come through. Make sure to subscribe, whether you're on our YouTube channel or if you're listening on your favorite audio podcast, Apple, Spotify, any of those good stuff, iHeartRadio. Make sure you subscribe. Give us 5 stars, thumbs up, all that good stuff, because that gets us higher up in the algorithms. People find us, and we're trying to do a better job of getting the content out a little bit quicker. We said we've had a little bit of a hiccup trying to get schedules coordinated and all that fun stuff, but we're back at it, having a good time with this. So welcome, Shannon Burke. Welcome to the podcast. I really appreciate you joining us so we can talk all things gravel, because that seems to be the biggest thing happening right now to everyone that comes into my fit studio looking for new bikes. They're talking about whether they should buy a road bike or a gravel bike, or what do they want to do. And a lot of people coming in looking for gravel bikes specifically, or they've just bought a gravel bike and they're coming in. So let's get into the gravel thing. But first, tell us about yourself. How did you get into this? What's your background? How'd you get started? How long have you been riding? And how did the gravel bug get you? Of all people,
that's a lot of questions.
TennesseeGravel.com going on, which is a great website. We'll have all of that in our
Thank you.
In our information.
I appreciate that, and thanks for having me. I'm actually coming from a road background, so I got into cycling, 2006 maybe, when I started dating my now wife. She was a cyclist, and she was like, "This is what I do on the weekends. If you want to hang out, you're going to need to get a bike." So I think at the time I had a little hybrid bike that I would ride to a swimming pool. I was a swimmer, and in Austin, there's a place called Barton Springs. It's like a football field size swimming pool, spring fed, 68 degrees year round. It's so awesome. So I would swim 5 days a week or whatever, and I'd ride my little hybrid bike over there. And so I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And she's like, "No. You need a real bike." And she was managing a gym in Austin, and the owner of the gym was Italian. Like, he came from Italy, set up shop in Austin. And so he was all about Pinarello, Campagnolo, Giordana, the Holy Trinity. And so my first bike was a Pinarello, my first road bike. And
nice.
So that kind of helped get me hooked on cycling. And then, hanging out with my wife, and then she had friends who traveled, and so we started taking tours with them. And so I was like, "Man, this is the way I want to roll. Like, this is how I want to see the world." And so I actually I was a city planner at the time. I actually quit my job in 2012 and started a bike tour company called Bellevue Bike Tours. And so we were taking people to Colorado or Virginia or all over doing that. So did that until 2016, and then moved up to Chattanooga. Both my wife and I have family here, and Austin was getting a little crowded. And so I thought, well, I'll just continue running tours, and I'll just have a different home base from Austin. Yeah. But unlike Texas, Chattanooga and Tennessee is beautiful, like really awesome cycling. Austin's a great place, and Texas has its sweet spots. But when I was leaving Chattanooga to go drive out to, Santa Fe or someplace to run a tour, you're going through some not so nice places. And I'm like, why am I leaving God's country to go, out west to run these tours? Why can't I run tours in Tennessee? So I tried to shift my model to running, rather than me meeting you somewhere, you come meet me in Chattanooga and I show you what a beautiful place I found here. But the problem is Tennessee's not really on the cycling map just yet. Not as much as it needs to be for the quality of cycling we have here. And we can get into that a little later in the podcast about the tourism stuff. But but that got me, I just like being here and seeing the amazing cycling that we have. It's just like, man, I want to explore this place. Like I want to know all there is to know about Southeast Tennessee cycling. And so when the pandemic hit, 2020, all my bike tours were canceled. I just bought a gravel bike at the end of 2019. I was like, oh, I'll see what this gravel thing is all about. And then I had no tours and I had lots of time. And so I went into the woods, and just started riding. So we live about an hour from the Cherokee National Forest. So if you're in Chattanooga and you go east about an hour, kind of between Chattanooga and Knoxville, there's the Cherokee National Forest, which is just south of the Smoky Mountains. So it's the same type of beautiful scenery, cascading waterfalls, all this kind of stuff. The difference is the Cherokee National Forest actually has these gravel Forest Service roads that the Smoky Mountains doesn't. Smoky Mountains is great for hiking, but you don't want to take your bike there. There's no place to ride. But in the Cherokee Forest, you have hundreds of miles of gravel roads. So I just started exploring and I was like, these are the roads that I've been looking for the whole time. Like whenever I would go scout out a place for a bike tour for road, the pavement would always end and I'm like, I was just getting good. It's like the paint was no longer on the asphalt. Like it's like, those are the roads you want. And gravel is like, that's all we got. It was nothing but that type of stuff. Yeah. So, I got kind of obsessed and it was the pandemic. And so I just created a website. I'm like, look at all these great routes we've got here. So I just started posting routes that people could download for free. And I met this lady, Kim Morrell, who was based out there and who knew all the back roads. And she had these mega endurance routes, got things that your kind of people like. And so we, like the people who want to go out and ride 130 miles and 15,000 feet of climbing and call that a day's ride as opposed to.
That's a cafe ride.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we set it up as an individual time trial challenge. So particularly during the pandemic, that was something that people were kind of like, I need to do something, but I'm scared to go to group rides or to events. And so we set up this ITT system where they could do the ride, send us their Strava, do a little verification form, and then we'd post their time, and then we do all three. We had a little Triple Crown. I'll give you a T-shirt and a hat, and it's just kind of like a fun way to get people to ride in the woods and to have a different experience when they weren't able to go to races. So anyway, that was a long story to get to where we are in terms of just like trying to find a way to make the woods accessible to people, to allow them to experience what I think is just, cycling heaven out there. And so we've got a bunch of different ways of doing that with bikepacking routes, with the ITTs, with just straight regular routes, and all of it's posted on the website. It's all free and people seem to like it. I was surprised how it took off in terms of like, checking the numbers of people who are actually using the site and then meeting people in Chattanooga, and it's like, oh, you're the
guy that did that.
Guy. Yeah. Well, thank you. I use that site all the time. So that's kind of cool,
It's awesome. And I don't think people realize that Tennessee is broken into three parts. So the state flag has 3 stars on it for Western, Middle, and Eastern Tennessee. And there's 3 distinct regions. They're very distinct from one another. And I think we're just learning more about Eastern Tennessee. Like I've been here for 5 years now, and in Middle Tennessee, love it. And we're discovering all sorts of roads. There's great road riding. There's fantastic roads out here all the time. But like you said, as you go further and further out, the roads end. Well, the pavement ends, I should say. The roads keep going, but the pavement ends. And I think like a combination of finding those roads as we try to get out further from the city and from the cars and enjoy the outdoors a little bit more and get separated from some people. Like the pandemic was, in that sense, good in a way because it got us outdoors. Right. As bad things happen, it kind of forced us to rethink like being outside and being outdoors. And, God, the amount of people that bought bikes through COVID, I get them coming through the Fit Studio all the time, and they're like, I said, so when did you get started? It was like 2020. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, right in that zone is like, I bought a bike, and this was the only one that was available at the bike shop, and it happened to be a gravel bike, so I've just been riding this everywhere, or, whatever. But there's so many people that started at that point, so let's keep them riding, and let's keep them going out there. And I think gravel is the next not the next frontier, but it's certainly, the next mode for us to challenge ourselves and go out there and have some fun on it. So,
yeah, and it's not just, you're absolutely right in terms of exploring, like it allows you to go places you can't go on skinny tires. I mean, that side of it is fantastic in terms of what you can experience. But I think the other side of it is people are maybe a little more fearful of cars now. And so the road riding has kind of faded a little bit just because it can be really dangerous if you don't know where to go. But then mountain biking is also really scary to people because it's, technical and there's rocks and sometimes the tires leave the ground. And so gravel is that sweet spot in between. And I think that has a lot of appeal to people.
Yeah, you can find those fire roads. I mean, people who spend so much time on their trainers, they're like, I think this helps their bike handling skills without having to worry about the cars because they spend so much time on their trainers that their bike handling skills aren't that good to begin with. And then they get out there and get freaked out by having cars anywhere near them, which takes a while to get used to. So now you can get to a point where you have to hone your skills a little bit better. The gravel is not the easiest to ride on. Right. It can be a little bumpy. It can be a little slippery. You've got soft dirt, sand, some stuff. How the bike handles. You can teach yourself to be really good bike handling skills, and then not worry about getting run over by a Cybertruck or something running down the road. So that's always great. So what's on the website? Break us through the TennesseeGravel.com. It's the routes are there. You've got all the elevation. Can we download?
Yeah. So it's all ride with GPS. So
got it. Okay.
Yeah. Just basically gives you like a very short summary of what the ride has, and then you just click on that. It goes to ride with GPS. Download it. You're good to go. One thing I should point out, and this is something like this needs to be a winter project of mine. Because I need to correct all the gravel proportions because Ride with GPS at some point, maybe it was last year, they went and started adding road surface types, which is completely inaccurate. And I even emailed them. I was like, guys, this is deceptive because you're showing, a route that I know is 90% gravel. You're showing it as maybe 40% gravel. And so if somebody takes a road bike out there or something, they're going to be surprised. And so you got to take all that with a grain of salt. So look at our numbers because I have the percentage of gravel on there as opposed to what Ride with GPS does. So anyway, we got the routes and I've got them divided up into, different areas within the national forest and by mileage or by climbing amount. Not a whole lot of flat out there. Just, when you talk about bike handling skills, the one thing you didn't mention was like switchbacks, like coming down a hill at speed and taking a really sharp turn. Those are kind of like survival skills that you learn, how to handle that on gravel, which is very different than mountain biking even because there's nothing tacky. The mountain bike can stick into dirt. You don't have that on gravel. So you got to work your angles a little different. So, so just know that when you look at those routes on TennesseeGravel.com, that there's going to be a lot of climbing. That's the price of admission for being in the forest, and it's totally worth it. So get a bike with good gearing. That's the key.
Good gearing. That's absolutely key. Yeah, and that's the other point of Middle Tennessee and Eastern Tennessee. I don't know Western Tennessee quite as well, but there's no flat areas here.
No.
So if you're looking for flat, this is not the place to come. But if you're looking for good riding, I think there's fantastic riding in Tennessee.
Yeah, you won't find better scenery. And Middle Tennessee is great too. And we can talk about the tourism thing where I've explored the whole state, but it's like Southeast and East Tennessee. As long as you don't mind the climbing, the scenery. And I've been all over the country and ridden in Colorado and all that. We don't have the big vistas that you get in the Western states. But as far as like the waterfalls and the fun roads to ride on and just the deep woods forest, you can't beat it. It's so good. So so we got plenty of routes you can choose from there. And we've got our individual time trial series with those mega routes. There's 3 of them on there. And we've got some videos like Pete Stetna came out and Heather Graham, they came out and did one of our ITTs and of course smoked it. But they were also a little smoked, like they were surprised, like how gnarly and how challenging it was. So it was a lot of fun to get their feedback, coming from the West Coast to hey, welcome east of the Mississippi. And I heard Pete on a podcast not too long ago, and one of the last questions the guys asked him was like, what are your favorite spots, or what are some of the hidden gems you've discovered? And he mentioned East Tennessee. I was so excited to hear it. Like,
oh, that's great.
yeah, it stuck with him. It's like, this is something that's different than Kansas and Nebraska and all that, the places that get all the press. And
yeah,
I don't know, I think we got something special. But yeah, if you want a big challenge, check out the ITTs. We have bike packing challenges too. Kim, my partner in Tennessee Gravel, she put together a 430 mile bike packing route. And then there's a 300 and I think it's like 16 miles version. So there's two versions of those. And that's, she'll do a grand depart for those where, a bunch of crazies will get together and they'll go out and race it. And you'll see people coming back, in like a day and a half, you did 300 something miles and in the woods on it, some of it hike a bike and just crazy stuff. So if you're into that kind of stuff, we've got that. We've also got a bike packing route that's a little more civilized, that's gravel as opposed to mountain bike. That actually goes to campgrounds with, flush toilets and things like that.
No, outstanding.
So we have a couple of options for the bike packing stuff. And then I put on a gravel event, so you can find out information about that. So the Reliance Deepwoods.
Is that just one event that you put on, or do you put on multiple events?
Just one.
Just one. That's
I mean, I have a road event that I put on, actually it's coming up here real soon in about 4 weeks, called Cycle Sequatchie. And that's west of Chattanooga, but that's primarily road. I have some mixed surface in there, but it's 80% asphalt, maybe 20% gravel. Okay. But the Reliance event that's on the Tennessee Gravel website, that's pure gravel riding. And that's a full weekend. Like, we take over a campground out there right on the Hiwassee River, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And when is that?
Information's on there as well.
When is that? What's the...
that's last weekend in April.
Last weekend in April. Okay, so that's something to put on next year's calendar, everybody, to come out and do that. Because that sounds like fun. The Sequatchie one, I think we talked about, you and I off... when we met. We met at Gravel Revival, which Moab Bike Shop puts on out here in Hickman County, which will both be out again because that's just a great event as well. But tell me more about the Sequatchie one. Is that something I could do on a road bike, or do I need to have a gravel bike for that?
Yeah. I mean, I actually set that one up before I was into gravel like that. Okay. I discovered Sequatchie Valley pretty early on after I moved to Chattanooga in 2016. So I discovered the valley, and I was like, man, this is where you want to ride, because it's just farm roads. There's nobody out there. And it's this perfect valley. It's like maybe 60 miles long and maybe 6 miles wide. So super narrow with these two big ridges on either side. And then there's a river that runs down the middle. It's like what's a valley? Like, if you drew it on a piece of paper, like, that'd be Sequatchie Valley. It's just perfect. Just these ridges, the river, and then there's a little highway that runs down the middle, and that's where all the traffic is. So if you want to get anywhere in the valley, you're right on this highway, which means the roads on either side of the highway don't have any traffic at all. So it's just local people. Okay. So you just hop on these farm roads, and then you just go north and south, and then cut across east-west anytime you want to turn around. So you can make it as long or as short as you want.
Oh, okay.
So it's perfect for like an event. So we set it up where we've got routes from 15 miles all the way to like 103 miles. So it's whatever you want. And we have 3 hill climbs that are optional. So if you want to go up the ridges that form the valley, we have those. If you're into that kind of thing, like, a 3-4 mile climb with double-digit grades, and like one of them goes up to a hang gliding launch. So it's just super scenic, but it's a 5 mile climb on a really sketchy road. So it's kind of like advanced cyclists only, but we have that for those folks. So if you need that kind of challenge and you want 8,000 feet of climbing on your day, we can deliver that. Or if you just want to stay in the valley and do the rolling roads and the farm roads, you have that as well. And so it's been a lot of fun. This is our 6th year coming up, and just having a blast with it. A lot of fun.
Okay, that's cool. I'll have to look and see if I can get that on my schedule this year.
Yeah, you should totally come down.
Fit that in. We talked about it last year, and then I totally forgot about it with everything else that's been going on. It's been nuts. So, so someone getting into gravel, what are their 5 things that are the most important for them to figure out? Like, they buy the gravel bike and they want to come do one of these rides, or they want to do the ITT, or they want to, kind of get out there and explore a little bit. What are the tips that you would give them to get
But
started.
really, you want to start talking to them before they buy the bike. Like the number one tip would be like, borrow a bike, rent a bike, find a demo or something to get out there and ride a little bit so that you know what you're getting into and so that you know what kind of bike you want. So like when I bought my first gravel bike, so 2019, I bought from the local shop, it was a Salsa Warbird, which is a super nice carbon bike. It's got a double in the front, and decent climbing gears. So I rode that and, it came with 38 millimeter tires, took that in the woods for a little bit. And then I quickly realized that like, I need fatter tires. I need to think about how to get rid of some of the vibration because it really depends on where you ride. And that's what I mean in terms of like, get a bike and go ride where you think you're going to spend most of your time. And that's going to tell you what kind of bike you want. Because if I'm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, these 38s and this Warbird are going to be perfect. Like the double makes total sense because I'm going to want a big ring because I'm going to be hammering along, pace lining. The 38s are going to be rolling fast. But where I'm at in Southeast Tennessee, when I'm looking at 5,000 feet of climbing and it's, getting pretty chunky on the downhills and I'm getting a lot of vibration, it's like, number one, I don't need a double. Like a one by is plenty. I need a really good big fat pie plate in the back to get up the hill. So I need really good climbing gears, and I need to think about tire size and maybe the dimensions on the bike. Like maybe I need it to be a little more slack. Like I don't need the race, straight across top bar. Maybe it needs to look a little more like a mountain bike, or maybe I need to figure out how to put a little suspension in, or maybe one of those little cheater stems that has a little shock and absorption.
Has a little shock absorber on it.
Yeah, so you just got to go out and kind of experience it, and your body will start to tell you what kind of bike you need. Yeah. So, to me, that's the most important thing is like, rather than going out and just buying a gravel bike, because gravel has so many different meanings depending on where you are and how you want to do it. And the other thing is like, if you're not racing and you don't care about speed or weight, then you might think about like a hardtail or something in the mountain bike world where it's like, I don't care if I have a heavy bike. What I really want is comfort so I can spend all day in the woods and, stop as often as I like and all that. And so maybe having the front fork and that suspension, even though it adds weight, totally worth the trade-off because you get home and your traps and shoulders aren't destroyed and
destroyed.
Because it does there's a lot of vibration, and as a roadie, it's like
it's tons of vibration compared to the road. And you and I talked earlier just before we started the recording. It was this like a mountain bike, a cross-country mountain bike would work that you can lock the suspension out on, which is what I'm doing. Works fine. You can also throw drop bars on it. You don't have to have the wide stretch, right? Now we can throw drop bars on a mountain bike.
Yeah, did you see Leadville? Half the people were doing that in Leadville. So it's like that the world of hybrid bikes has arrived has come back, It's like,
it's the Franken bikes and I love it. I actually love it because I think they're playing around and experimenting with it. I look at what's his name from Team EF?
Lachlan?
Yeah, Lachlan. Yeah. He's done some amazing stuff with it. There's a couple other guys that are experimenting and doing the science and the math and stuff on it. And they've got these crazy stuff. Kate, that won Leadville, she's put the blips down on the shock towers.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I was like,
just to get more aero. She put the SRAM wireless blips on the shock tower so that she can hold the shock towers on the straight flat roads. And I was like, if anyone has tried to hold the shock towers on a mountain bike while you're cruising along, it is not easy.
No.
Okay, that is not easy. She makes it look like it's nothing. And she's like, oh yeah, the blips you just glue on and you just put there and now you can shift while you're down there. And I'm like, it's crazy. I love it. Yeah. I think it's fantastic because it's like, well, we're just going to use what works. We're not going to go with this set, like we don't have UCI regulations telling us that our sock height has to be just so right because of safety. It's everyone's actually having a good time on that. So that's good to know. Like, yeah, there's so many different types of gravel riding. There's so many different types of mountain bike riding, but gravel riding is not just like, what is it? I mean, the different surfaces.
Cycle Sequatchie, versus Reliance in terms of the audience that I'm dealing with. It's so fun to like see the people in the corral lining up to start the ride. Cycle Sequatchie, they all look the same. You know, they got their kits on, they got their carbon bikes and their nice wheels, and, you know, like this is the road world. And then you go to the gravel bike and they're lining up and it's like, who are these people? Because you got the kits, and then you got the guy in the jorts, and then, you know, you got the big fat mountain bike, and then you got this race gravel bike. It's like, it's such a mix, which I love. It's really interesting how people, how much diversity there is in that world. It's so different than the road world. I mean, the road world is great too, but it's just like, it's just a lot more diversity over there on the gravel side.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun to watch because everybody gets along. It's just,
exactly.
It's fun to watch them come together and support one another in the same way, and you would never expect it.
It's also interesting, you know, like at Cycle Sequatchie, I set up packet pickup the morning of the ride. I'm there at 6 a.m. trying to set up everything. I've got people there at 5:45, like ready to pick up their stuff. Gravel world, you know, it's like, exactly.
Sorry, that's me. I'm there.
Well, I would be too, but, you know, it's like, but
I'd offer to help too.
Exactly. What can I do to help?
Yeah, can I help you out? What do we need? Yeah,
get out of my way. It's early in the morning. But at Reliance, it's, you know, the race starts at 8 and it's 7 o'clock. I'm like, where is everybody? They're not even parked yet. And, you know, it's like, we've been doing packet pickup for an hour and the guys are going back to sleep. The volunteers are like, what are we doing here? And 7:30, I'm trying to get in people fired. Like, we got to go. But very relaxed attitude.
The gravel revival is perfect for that because we're set up in the vendor area. We've got our tent set up. The start is right next to us. I've got my tent right next to my sleeping tent right next to my vendor tent, and I'm roll out in the morning. I've got my coffee. We're just chit chatting, whatever. I'm watching rides go off. I'm signed up for the 11-mile ride, the shortest one, and I all of a sudden realized that they're all leaving, and I'm still sitting here in my shorts and a hoodie, and I'm not anywhere ready to go. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll catch up to everybody later.
That's
because
perfect.
it was so relaxed. We were having such a good time. You show up on Friday for this one. You show up on Friday. They do a Friday night ride if you want to do it, but basically we just get set up and we're just chit-chatting with people. And you get up Saturday morning, everyone goes off and does their rides. And then there's music Friday night, Saturday night. You're hanging out. You're all camping. Sunday, there's another ride if you want to do a shorter ride to a winery for lunch and back, or everyone kind of gets up and is gone by noon or so. But it's so laid back.
Exactly.
It's coming from the endurance and triathlon world where everything is really hypersensitive to stuff. That takes me more back to the grassroots of sprint and Olympic distance triathlons that are local, that are barely signage. You know, you need to know the route because they didn't have enough volunteers to tell you where to turn. And it's kind of more mellow, relaxed that way. It kind of gets that vibe going for me. So that's what draws me to it and getting more and more interested in it.
Yeah, it's grassroots,
for sure.
man.
So, and it's bikes, right? You're on bikes, and I think the Gravel Revival also has runs. They've added like 3 or 4 different distance of trail runs. So if your significant other or friend doesn't ride bikes but wants to, or maybe they're a roadie but they run as well, they can come run while you're out riding, and it makes it a whole festival for us, and the same thing. So we look at different surfaces. So the first suggestion is like, figure out what style of riding you want to do, what type of surface you want to be on, so that before you plunk down the big coin on the bike, because there's plenty to rent. You can get rents out there. You can even rent mountain bike and go out on a mountain bike and just try the different surfaces and figure stuff out, right? Or borrow a bike, as you say, right? Borrow somebody's bike and go out. I know the road bikes are pushing 33 millimeter tires just for the road. Yeah. So I went out on a ride with RB Cycler on Tuesday night the other week, and it was road, surface, grass, a bit of gravel, and I took my Giant Defy with the 33 millimeter tires on it. I was like, I was hanging on for dear life. That was the most off-road that bike has seen.
Right.
And it handled it. It did pretty good. But I don't think my jaw is set right. My neck is not the same. And they're jamming through. And
what was your PSI on those tires? That's the...
I was way too high. It was like 60. It was, I wasn't prepared for the gravel part of it as much, right? Jumping curbs and doing all that other stuff. So now that I have the mountain bike, I'd go out on the mountain bike with, 17 PSI and go crush it. Exactly. It's not a problem. So, yeah. So it is possible to do in the 33s and 38s or something like that, but certainly you'd probably want 48, 52, something a little bit bigger for the gravel stuff, depending on, like, once again, the surface that you're going.
Yeah.
So what's the next bit? They figure out what style of riding they like to do. They kind of zero in on a bike. You don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money on the bikes. You can get a good steel gravel bike. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good options, and I ride a steel.
Titanium.
Titanium is great. I ride steel. I love the way it feels. It absorbs a lot of the chatter just in the...
It does. People don't realize that. Yeah.
Super smooth. So you don't have to go with your carbon. In fact, you may not want to spend a lot of money on a carbon bike because gravel, unlike mountain biking and unlike road, you're going to be throwing stuff up all the time because the gravel is going to get in your tires and it's going to be flipping up on your down tube. And, I started to notice on that Warbird, I could see little spots where the paint was getting chipped. And, even though they had a protective layer under there, like a little laminate or whatever, it doesn't, I don't know, you just got to think long term. At least I was thinking,
it's going to get a little chewed up. Now you can get the 3M film to put on the outside of the bike, but it has to be super clean and it has to be before you start getting chips in it.
Right.
Because once you get chips in it and you try to put that on top of it, it just doesn't work. It doesn't look right. It's not going to do the job that it's supposed to. That will help a little bit. You can still get chips through that.
Just think about those kind of things because I used to ride a carbon mountain bike. And so when I got into gravel, I was like, well, if I can ride a carbon mountain bike, then surely I can ride a carbon gravel bike and not worry about it. But it's different because you're throwing stuff up on the bike all the time with the gravel. Yeah. And another thing that you'd want to tell someone to getting into gravel is, and you just mentioned it, is particularly if you're coming from the roadside, don't overinflate your tires like that. That sounds simple, but it's so hard, because when I got into cycling, it was like 120 PSI, on a 21 or 23 millimeter tire. And that's your brain gets into that mindset of like, I will go faster if I max out this air pressure. So when I started riding that Warbird, I had tubes in it and I was pumping into like 50 PSI and I was just getting beat up. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So then you go tubeless, but you're still pumping it up too much. And then you're just like, you don't have to do that because you're tubeless. So, the reason you pump up with a tube is because you don't want to have a pinch flat. So you need to have a certain amount of air pressure. So when you hit that bump, it doesn't pinch. Yeah. But if you don't have a tube in there, then you don't need to worry about it quite as much, so you can really let it go. And so that's just kind of like a mental thing more than anything else. It's like, just let that go and go ahead and drop that air pressure as low as you can because it's going to make it. That's the biggest difference in terms of your ride quality is tire pressure. So, and
that's going to be an uncomfortable thing for most people because I get probably 75% of my bike fit clients that come in, even if they're going tubeless now, are used to 100 plus PSI and they're still setting their 33 millimeter tires up to 100 PSI. And I'm like, oh my God, no. Like, no. Silka, the Silka company makes a great little calculator, online calculator. You put in your weight, you put in the type of riding you do, a few other facts in there, and you hit the button and it tells you. And it's always like everyone's shocked at how low it tells you can go. You can go pretty low. And then, okay, now think about going to gravel and you can go even lower. Right? You can drop off. If you're looking at from a bumpy road to gravel, you're going to take another 10, 15 PSI at least out and experiment with it. Drop it down. You can get one of the great little pumps now. They've got these tiny little pumps that you can, that are battery operated, just stick in your pocket. That way you can try taking out more and go like, no, that was too much. Put a little more air pressure back into it. You find that sweet spot for you that you're comfortable with. It actually better handling with the lower tire pressure.
Oh, totally.
It grips the road a little bit better. So that's a big key, tire pressure.
Yeah, for
Tire
sure.
pressure is huge. Now, what about hydration, right? So you're bouncing around, like you're going to have your bottles on the bike. They're going to just get chucked left and right when you hit some big bumps, right?
Invest
So
in
are we
big
talking
bottle
hydration
cages.
packets?
Yeah.
Or better cages?
Yeah, I mean, again, like it's that diversity that you see at a gravel event. People swear by the hydration packs. I don't like stuff on my back.
Yeah.
Particularly here in Tennessee in the summertime, I'm sweating enough already. I don't need to have that thing on my back.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 bottle cages, and I bought good ones, and so the bottles don't eject.
Yeah.
I've even got that. So some of the roads, the farther you go into the national forest, like if you go in the higher elevations, the maintenance is just not there anymore. And so some of those roads are getting to where you really do need a fork and, some front suspension. So I'll take my hardtail on those. And so I asked, buddies who've done the Tour Divide and have been on major bikepacking trips, like, what do you do? And so I've got some really cool cages that are on my actual, on the front suspension. So one on each side.
Oh, okay. So
And you can
put
actually
out
reach
there.
them from the cockpit.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've got, one on the down tube, and then I've got those 2 there. And I'm good to go. And those grip really, they were expensive. I was like, I really need to pay this? He's like, trust me, I've done everything and I've never lost a bottle. And he's right, because I beat the hell out of them, and they have not ejected.
They're still going. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other thing, in terms of like volume, I have, I'll take a Catadine B-free water filter. So where we are in the Cherokee National Forest, there's creeks everywhere. So and it's just part of the scenic appeal of the place is that there's these cascading creeks all over the place. But that also means you don't have to worry about water as long as you got a filter.
Yeah.
So the Catadine is just, like it's a little filter you screw onto a little bag, essentially, and you can just wad that up and stick it in your jersey pocket and stop at a creek and then fill up that bag, put the filter on it, and then just squeeze it into your bottle.
Squeeze it in. Yeah. Which is great to have as emergency. I have that in my trail running pack as well. Just up there, just in case if you run someplace, get a little lost and you don't have any water, you need a filter. You can't just drink the water.
Exactly.
So you need a filter. So that's great. That's a handy thing to have, because that would fit in your kit really
exactly.
easily.
And it means I don't have to
take up
put
much space.
5 liters of water on my back to go out for a ride either. It's like I'm not carrying all that weight when I'm trying to climb the 10-mile climb. It's like it makes a huge difference. So
yeah. And I would concur what you said with getting the good bottle cages, not just the cheap ones. I know some people like the cheaper metal ones because you can bend them to hold tighter, but the fact is that they bend is not good. And there's a couple different brands, some of them carbon fiber as well, which I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but they hold really well.
Yeah.
Like almost to a fault. Like you're trying to get the bottle out and you have to twist and pull really hard. Like if you have to stop to pull the bottle out, I would much rather have that than having a bottle that just, because the cage was a little bit cheaper and that's where you decided to save a couple of bucks. They're not that expensive, but in comparison, you can get a $2 cage or you can get a $75 cage, right?
Right.
Yes, it's expensive, but that's the spot to there's a reason why they hold better, right? Maybe you find them on sale for $50 and you're great. There's your win. But yeah, for sure, a good bottle cage to get the hydration, and then the filter as a safety thing. I mean, I'd probably carry that even if I had enough water going through, just because anytime you're off trail or on a trail someplace, you want to have a couple of emergency safety things out there. Yeah. Maybe a whistle, water filtration, something like that. And then one of the I have this. Maybe I'm just over scared or something. It's just the Mylar blankets, right? That fold up into next to nothing, right? If I'm anywhere in the woods, I have one of those. It's stuck in the back. because it's something was to happen, like you could just wrap into that and keep your body warm, kind of keep your temperature regulated on that. So that's my Boy Scout pitch for always be prepared.
Exactly. No, you're
always be prepared.
Yeah.
What else? We got bottle cages. We've covered hydration, tire pressure, bikes.
Handling.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say gravel is going to handle different, obviously, than asphalt because you don't have much grip in a corner. So, when I'm telling people, if you're coming down into like a hairpin curve, obviously you got to brake. You've got to check your speed before you get into the curve. That applies to road and gravel both. Like you never want to be braking in the middle of the curve. But with gravel, if you find yourself coming into a curve too hot, don't try to turn. It's like use the disc brakes. That's the beautiful thing. I didn't even have disc brakes until my first gravel bike. So, I was still using the rim brakes on my Pinarello, which I was like, oh, this is plenty. And then I got that gravel bike and I was like, oh, wow, the stopping power.
Better.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So it's like, you should never crash because as long as you can go straight, as long as you're not trying to turn the front, then bring the bike almost to a halt and then make the turn. It's just like people go down because they're trying to turn and they're going too fast. And so if you've got the brake power, just go ahead and bring it, just keep it in a straight line and bring it down to where you finally feel comfortable to lean into that curve.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just like a simple thing that a lot of people don't think about because they're trying to make the curve. And so they're starting to lean, but it's like, do the opposite. Just go straight and slow down almost to a stop.
Yeah.
Simple.
The same for when you're riding across, maybe you're on a more of a solid surface and you hit a sandy patch or a little loose patch.
Exactly.
You're still going straight. What you don't want to do is you don't want to turn the front wheel at all. You don't want to you can carry the speed. But don't try to change direction while you're doing that because that's when things go bad. You try to change direction, the bike slides out from underneath you and you go down right away. So you slow your speed down a little bit, but just stay steady and just don't go off that course and you'll be fine. So, and I think that's good bike handling skills to teach people on the road as well. Certainly brake before you get into the corner, and think about it. And the more you stiffen out, I probably talk about this with every single bike fit client I have, is that stop locking your arms out and pillaring yourself on the front of the bike and just resting everything there because you can't, the front end needs to move. Your arms need to have a little bend in them. That's your suspension. So when it's bumping and bouncing around on some gravel and some loose stuff, your arms are the shock absorbers and allowing it to do that. That allows you to stay centered over the bottom bracket and keep your center of gravity down at the bottom of the bike.
Yeah, and that is even more important in gravel. 100%. Like you cannot lock your elbows and have everything. Have your shoulders hunched in gravel because you'll feel it so much during the ride and then the next day.
Oh, afterwards, you'll just feel awful. Yeah, you'll just be headaches and like you could do some damage to your neck if it's rough enough. So for sure. So good handling skills, always important. And to take it easy in the beginning when you're just getting started on it and feeling it out. Experiment a little bit with it, feel a little bit, but do it at maybe somewhat slower speeds. Don't go bonsaiing out onto the gravel.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you just take everybody else out too. So we don't like that.
Right.
We don't like crashing. We like someone else crashing us out even less.
Right. And it's like, it wasn't my fault. Yeah. Baselining in gravel is weird. We don't really do a whole lot of that where we are because we're mostly going up or down. There's not a lot of
it's a different speed. Yeah.
But I did go, I went to, there's an event called the Dust Bowl in Indiana, and it's a great event. They'll draw over 1,000 people. They sell out really quickly. It's amazing. Wow. But it's so different than what we have here. It's basically cornfields. And so you're in a straight line for a long time, and then you hit a 90-degree curve or corner. It's not even a curve. It's literally
hard,
90 degrees. Yeah. And then you go in a straight line for a long time. So it was crazy, like to do that. And suddenly I'm back in roadie world. I'm like pace lining, except it's gravel. And so there's like dust everywhere and there's gravel getting kicked up. And I'm like, I don't know these people and I need to give a lot more space than I'm giving right now. It's like the draft is not that important as staying alive, particularly when you get into those corners there. The 90-degree corners were crazy because that's where all the gravel kind of piles up. And so it's like, you want to slow down. You don't want to be hanging on that wheel just to save a few watts, to be drafting. So yeah, pace lining on gravel and pace lining on asphalt is already a little bit sketchy, and it's that much more on gravel.
On gravel, for sure. Yeah.
Give everybody plenty of space when you're riding on a gravel bike. I mean, there's no need to be doing that kind of stuff. And particularly if you're just getting into gravel, it's not worth it.
And then be prepared for dust.
Yeah.
Lots of dust. When it's drier, there's lots of dust. When it's not dry, there's lots of mud. But but we love all of that, right? So just be prepared for that. Bring some extra eye drops if you've got contacts, and maybe a bandana or something on the really dusty ones, especially doing the pace lines up there. I'm sure it's it's called a dust ball for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you get a lot of that. Cool. So tell us about the Travel Tennessee.
So Bike Tennessee.
The Bike Tennessee.
Yeah. So it is all about travel. It is about bike tourism. It's about getting people to come to Tennessee, discover what we have to offer in terms of cycling, and spend some money while you're here. And so like the governor, when he first got elected, he was like, we've got a lot of poor rural counties and we need to find some ways to creatively do some economic development because manufacturing is left. Agriculture only does so much. And so, how can we figure out how to get money in those places? So we made a proposal that was like, how about bicycle tourism? Because bicycle tourists have a lot of money. Look how much their bikes cost. And B, the rural counties are where we want to be anyway, because there's no cars there. The scenery's better. It has more character typically with your mom and pop type places. It's like, that's where we want to go. So we proposed putting together a bunch of routes across the state that would highlight these areas, these rural counties, and basically say, in this county, which they term, economically distressed, here's a beautiful route that starts and finishes in this little town where you can get a nice burger when you're done and a fried pie. And this is an awesome route. You should check it out. Here's some points of interest. And so we did that, ended up with 52 routes from, the Mississippi River on the west end all the way through the mountains across the state. It was a great project. I mean, I got to ride all these wonderful places and discover all these beautiful little areas that I know Southeast Tennessee pretty well. It was great to see the rest of the state and to realize West Tennessee gets knocked as not being as nice, but it's got its own charm. It's beautiful, and there's actually hills out there. I discovered that there are hills. They don't have any mountains.
So there are, yeah.
But there are
I
places
know there's a big
out.
scene. There's a big cycling scene in Memphis.
Oh yeah.
From what I hear, which I'm not aware of. Like, I don't know much of West Tennessee at all. So this is fantastic.
There's a lot to be discovered there. It really is nice. And so they publish the websites, biketn.com. Okay. And so we have all these routes on there, and there's a map of Tennessee and these little squiggly lines representing the routes. So you just click on one of those wherever you want to go, and it'll have a full description. Basically, I wrote up as if I were talking to you before the ride, like, okay, here's where you're going to be going. Watch out for this hill here. There's a little bit of traffic here. Just kind of like what to think about when you're riding. And so I've done that for each one of these routes. And when we finished that, they were all excited. This is like, oh, what a neat idea. Like, we should do gravel. So now I'm mapping gravel routes. Since gravel is the hottest thing in cycling, it's kind of like, okay, let's show off what we have in Tennessee in terms of gravel, because we want to capture that market as well. And we want to have that available for people. So that's been great. So I'm maybe 2/3 of the way through that now. Of mapping gravel routes, and that has been fantastic. It's been like a dream project.
That's fantastic. So you get to ride all of these as you're mapping them out. You're basically going out there and you're physically mapping it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when I was running the bike tour company. Before I would take anybody to Santa Fe and Taos, New Mexico, obviously I need to go out there and do the routes, and then I need to scout out, what hotels we're going to stay in, what restaurants we're going to eat in, and so it's a very similar kind of thing where it's like if I were going to take a bunch of tourists to West Tennessee or Middle Tennessee, and I wanted to show them like some of the best gravel riding in that part of the state, where would I go? So I spent like a ton of time, way too much time with Google Maps, with Strava, with Ride with GPS, looking at heat maps, looking at road surfaces and all these kind of different options, because gravel's a little trickier than road in the sense that some of the gravel may be there, but you don't necessarily want to take people on it because there could be loose dogs. It could be scary, so
the dog thing is an issue for sure.
In the rural South, it really is, and the road ride's kind of similar where you got to watch out for those things. But gravel, it's like exponential in terms of like some of these gravel roads. It's like,
you're down farm roads and things. So there's the dogs run free.
Yeah. So we ended up kind of steering clear of some of that and staying more in the wildlife management areas, the state forest, the state parks, just the national forest, of course, and trying to find places that were uninhabited. And that made, the best riding.
Which there's lots of that. I mean, Tennessee has amazing state park system.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. And they're all free. Right?
Yeah,
they're all,
exactly.
They don't cost anything to go visit these parks, and they're well taken care of. I was totally impressed by the state park system when I got to Tennessee. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, and they're putting more money into it too. It's fantastic. It's like we definitely we're kind of like, if there's an opportunity to incorporate a state park into these routes, we're absolutely going to do it. So the road routes had I forget how many, like 12 or 16 or something state parks as part of the routes, and same with the gravel stuff. It'll probably end up 30% of them will have a state park involved, which is also good because I'm not designing these routes as like all day killer. Like I don't want it to be your whole day. I don't want you to be wiped out at the end of it. I want you to have half a day to do the waterfall hike at the state park, or you definitely want to be able to go get some lunch, or if you're in a small little town, maybe stroll Main Street and spend some money in some of these shops. And the idea was to be like half day rides. So that you can enjoy the rest of your time.
And that's perfect. I mean, some of these little mom and pop shops, they're great people. You have great conversations with some people, and some neat little, get some hamburgers or get, some basic sandwiches and things there that they've got. And it's great. It helps them tremendously. So we get a little bit of joy out of that. So, okay, we're going to put all of that up there on our notes, in our show notes. And here I'll have all the websites to get on of that, so we can get people here and going. I mean, this is fantastic. This is a great conversation. I'm sorry Kenny wasn't here to join us. He'd have lots of notes. We'd probably still be babbling on about gravel bikes and things as he gets going on it. But we'll have to figure out a way to go out and ride some of these and then talk about them again.
Tell him to bring that expensive bike to Southeast Tennessee. I'll take y'all into the mountains and we'll show you some real gravel.
And I'm so jealous. I have to add a different part to my training and my coaching. Like when I'm putting people out onto different rides, I should probably go actually ride them and explore a little bit. So I might be picking your brain a little bit more and going on and pulling down those routes to get more creative with some outdoor riding here.
Well, I've got the Leapers Fork. Got a good road route for
there's some great. It's my favorite place to ride. It's all through Leapers Fork in the Boston area and down there, and there's a couple good little spots for sandwiches and things as well. Perfect. So we'll do more of that. But thank you for coming on. This is a great conversation. It was really good. Shannon and I met last year at the Gravel Revival, which is coming up like in another 2 months.
Yeah, I think
next month actually.
Third weekend of October.
How sad is that? Yeah. So and I mentioned to Shannon about coming on the podcast last year at the Gravel Revival. So
just under
it's
the
less
wire.
Than a year. It was less than a year. So I managed to at least check that off my list of things to do. And so if you're around and you hear this, you want to come out to Gravel Revival, come hang out with us, because you said you're going to have Bike Tennessee is going to be out there as well as
It's Tennessee Gravel.
As gravel, TennesseeGravel.com, as well as TriTomR Endurance will be right next door because we're great neighbors. We'll be camping out there the whole weekend, so come hang out with us and talk with us. Come run if you want. Maybe our listeners that are in Frankfurt, Germany, who I'm just fascinated with. I love whoever you are. You're fantastic. Send us some notes because I want to know. I'd love to meet you. But we do have some steady listeners that are up in Germany. That's fantastic. So yeah, and come visit. Come to Tennessee. We'll take you places. We'll take you places and get some riding in and do some fun stuff. So once again, everybody, make sure that you subscribe to the channels, to the YouTube, to the audio channels. Give us 5 stars, thumbs up, all that great stuff. Hey, if we're not doing good, send us notes. Say, hey, what you'd like to see better. I'm trying to improve on this and get better each time. So all your feedback is fantastic. We really appreciate that. So Shannon, thank you so much. This is fantastic.
I loved it.
And we'll talk some more on gravel. Definitely coming up. So and for
in a few weeks.
Yep. We'll see you in a few weeks. And for everybody else, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.